Legitimately.
Yes, absolutely. Hi, DC. How are you doing?
I'm waking up.
Good.
I love that they always do these in the morning. This is my morning. So
Yeah, we've understood the time shift is a little tough. So I was wondering, what are some common misconceptions about being a voice actor that you'd like to have cleared up?
Oh, that we're common misconceptions that we're millionaires.
Okay.
Some are, but the majority are not.
Sure.
That we can. You mentioned a con that you want me to be at, and that I could just do that and be booked and go. Hey, you'd be great on that show. You should be on that show, and then I could just then be on that show.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what other common misconceptions? Oh, that you can start a career in voiceover just by walking into a studio and starting.
Mm-hmm.
That there's and that there is a set pathway to becoming a voice actor, a successful voice actor.
Sure.
So there's actually no one way to get there. There's many different ways to get there. So, so those are I would say are like the main ones that I hear when I go to conventions and panels and stuff. So,
yeah.
And I guess I've already hit them. Let's see. Do you want me to go into detail about those, or
if you'd like to?
As much or as little details.
Okay.
Pick your favorite or least favorite.
Well, the voice actors are millionaires I find so funny. So it's you ain't no way you're gonna be a millionaire doing anime. It is the least paying of all of the voiceover work that an actor can get, but it's the most one of the most rewarding because you get to go to conventions like this and meet fans, and that's what's really cool. And that's actually why I went back to doing anime, is I like doing conventions. I knew didn't know if I was ever going to book a big video game again, and I happened to get lucky and big book 2 in a row. But they were getting old, and so I'm like, well, I want to make sure that I can keep going to these conventions because they're fun. So reached out to some anime places and started doing that again. But those are not like those, when those checks, no offense to the people who hire me, but when those checks come, it's like, oh, that's dinner for the weekend. It's that kind of thing. Where we do make good money is when we get a national commercial, especially a national TV commercial. I hit it big many years ago, about 2010, when I did a Geico campaign. I did actually 2 years worth of a Geico campaign, which was they had celebrities and then a regular person, and so the voiceover was Bob Smith is a real Geico customer, not a paid celebrity. So to help tell a story, we hired a celebrity.
Yeah.
And then it would be Little Richard going, woo, and like interpreting what the person's story was. And at the end it'd be, Geico, 15 minutes can save you whatever. I don't even remember how it went. Anyway, that bought me a house. So
nice.
Yes. It was, and before then I was, I just paid off my student loans and everything. I was like, I'd saved some money, but the minute I booked that campaign, I was able to save a whole bunch and then put a down payment on a house and all of that. And I'm waiting for that again.
Yeah, congrats on that. I remember that campaign.
Sadly, there's only insurance campaigns are amazing, but most of them you can't make that kind of money. Used to be in the 80s and before you could make so much money doing commercials and be set, but now it's not the case. I've got a Taco Bell one running now. Actually, I'm going to do another Taco Bell next week, and that's been paying really lovely. That's actually been making up like my monthly nut. But most actors don't know. That are making all their money strictly from acting and voiceover. We don't know how much money we're going to make at the end of the month. We start the month at zero, and we know that we have this many bills. We just hope that the money we take in throughout that month surpasses what we owe in our bills. And if it gets really surpasses it, then we put money away or pay off our credit cards or go traveling. So
right on.
Yeah, that would be the one. That and the other one about. Thinking that you can just walk into a studio and start doing voiceover is that not that I know that there's so many different ways to get in to have a career, and half the time it's luck. But I would say that you always want to have a foundation of acting. It's so rare that you can go into it without having taken acting classes. And then I always say, singing is really good. So either singing on your own, taking singing classes so you can learn to love your voice and support from the diaphragm, which I'm not doing this morning. And then improv classes, because then you have to think on your feet and you have to come up with character voices all the time. And that's really helpful when you're in a cartoon session and you've been hired because you auditioned doing this one voice for this character. And so you get in there and you're doing a character like that. And they go, great, we're all done with that. We've got an hour. We've got 2 more characters, which they can do in a contract, up to 3 characters. And they go, so we're going to do persnickety over here. And you're like, and you have to figure out a voice really quickly. So,
oh, man.
Yeah.
We were actually just talking about improv. That's a cool note.
Very cool.
Cool.
For you, being a voice actor in many different aspects. For anime and video games, do you find that there's a difference when you approach voice acting between the two mediums, or are they generally the same, or how's the
Well,
process of
it's just
that?
like with anything, even when you do a movie or something, there's going to be, or you do a play, there's usually a style to what that particular project is, regardless what medium it's in. Anime used to be that they said, let's just try to make it as similar to the Japanese. The Japanese do a very kabuki style of acting, but it fits in that language. It sounds good. It works with the imagery and all of that. And then when we do that as Western English actors, it sounds horrible. But apparently we did that for a long while. But now they've learned to reinterpret for whatever the show is. We look at it and we go, what is this style in a Western sensibility, and then go approach it that way with the acting. So for instance, I did a show called Backstreet Girls Goku Dolls. It's on Netflix. It just came out in December. It is not for children. It is very funny though, and subversive in a good way. Some people think it's actually it's a weird one for me to bring up as an example, but I bring it up as an example because it's the style of the acting when you listen to the Japanese is very I can't do a Japanese voice. I was going to do it, but I can't. No, I'm not going to do that. But it's very kabuki. But it worked to do that as English as well because it's so farcical. So what's happening? So there'd be things like going, is she looking at me? Oh, she's not looking at me. Oh my God, she's looking at me. I don't know what I'm going to do. So what are you thinking about tomorrow? Like it's this kind of contrast, immediate, that work. Oh, you can tell I was drinking last night. But it's just those contrasts that really sell it and make it funny. But in another one, so for instance, when I got JoJo, the instinct was when we first got into the booth, the head of the company decided to sit in on that session, which is kind of unusual. So when I realized maybe this role is bigger than I know of, and the director. I did the first line, and I always try to underplay, which they on video games and on anime, and then let them push me up because I don't want to start way up here because then all my roles would sound like I'm a DJ, and so he tried to pump me up to be a little more theatrical in it, and she chimed in and said no, she liked the natural kind of read. It was creepier, and he's like, oh, okay. And then from that point on, we've stayed in that mode, and he's directed me with that, and we've actually come up with some. So it's been one of the most rewarding anime gigs I've ever had. Not only because it's such a huge role, and there's so many fans to it, and I'm honored to be doing the role, but because the show is just so fascinating and bizarre, and the way the character is written, there's so many little subtleties that you get to do with it, especially in the range of the performance that we're doing it in. So
Cool.
But with the video games, same thing. So I go in to do Mass Effect, and we do it. They wanted it cinematic, so we read it all, did all the lines as though it was a movie. And so with video game Mass Effect, very cinematic, and with Persona 5, it is more theatrical, so you can have more fun. So again, it's just done by the style of the thing, and that's nice that they do that now. And again, they didn't do that with video games back in the 90s. You just got an Excel sheet with your lines, and the producer didn't even know what it was referring to, because it was all done by coders. And he's like, let's just do 3 of them. One where you're really excited, one where you're mad, and one where it's just very neutral. And you're like, okay. And that's why some of the acting sounds so stilted in those early video games.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see which one do I want to go with. Let's go with this one. What are your personal methods for getting out of your comfort zone for a role?
For a role?
Or task? Or
I'm a hack. I do what is the easiest. It's like me in the gym, like going, if I lean forward and I do this, it's so much easier. Horrible form. No, it's only, I don't think of it as like what gets me out of my comfort zone. What I think about is more like it's about what the audition is that I get and what voice can I do that fits that character. And sometimes I get something that's out of my comfort zone. And then there's a breaking point. So I'm like, I will work towards it this way, or I'll try to go underneath it and do something that's more in my comfort zone, but that actually works for it, like another way of re-envisioning the character. Or I try to go for it, and it's so far out of reach. And usually what that is voice matching, and not voice, actual character matching. Like when you get to Looney Tunes characters, there's a lot of them being redone now, and so every week there's like, match this guy, and who did that? And it's like, I go in and listen to him, like, my voice is too low for that. And so, I mean, I could do my best, but I know that it won't work There'll be other guys that will actually fit that perfectly. And so, I mean, I can try to keep pushing myself to get out of my comfort zone, and that's a good exercise, but it's a waste of time to send that audition in. And sometimes I don't want them to hear it and go, oh, DC's really bad at this. So I'd rather only send in the ones where it's like, oh, perfect match. DC works for that. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Okay. Well, full disclosure.
Yay. Nice.
I gotta ask a Legion-centric question. When you do a character where you know that your voice is going to be heavily modulated, like they do with Legion, is there something you have to do to kind of psych yourself up for that, or do you just
No.
know that that's?
You just go, thank God.
Yeah,
Now
they're
it'll
just
sound
gonna
different
handle
from
it
my
in
other
post?
work. It's freedom to go and just speak your own voice if you want.
And how much do they actually like tell you beforehand that? That's
On that
gonna
one, we went in and they showed me a teaser video for Legion where he speaks. They had a computerized voice for the teaser, and then I think once we were in a couple sessions in, they said, "Oh, we got some production back with the modulation, so I could hear it." And then we played it, and I thought it sounded cool. The director was like, "That's too modulated. I want to hear some of the voice. It's too modulated." So everybody's got their opinion. So, but I thought it sounded cool. So.
Yeah.
The only thing really you have to keep in mind with it when it's modulating is that you keep the diction up, because you're going to lose a lot of that when they start doing that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Well, it sounded great in the end. Legion was one of my favorite characters. So.
Yay!
Yes.
Yeah, no, I was
Just saying.
I was very happy to have gotten that character, and again, one of those huge ones. And I'm like, I got 2 in a row. Resident Evil, and then that one the next year, and I was like, holy cow! So, and then I guess they're planning on doing another Mass Effect now.
I've heard murmurs of it, but
Yeah, I just hope they go. If the Geth appear again and they're speaking, I'll be back because I am the voice of the Geth. At least that's what they said then.
yeah,
So.
it's tricky because like they didn't mention the Geth in the Andromeda,
Right.
Yeah.
like they didn't mention them coming with, but we'll see. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
So I don't know anything about the game of Andromeda, but there's no way that they could actually run across the Geth then?
Yeah, so basically the idea is right as the original trilogy is spinning up, they send these arcs with, all the different races out
Okay.
to Andromeda to colonize that. So all of the crap that happens with the Reapers, they're insulated from it in Andromeda.
Okay.
And the council races go to Andromeda, and then they're sending the ship with like the Quarians and the all the lesser races. And that one's just arriving as that first game ends.
Okay.
So we don't know what all is going to be on that arc.
So
There's a chance.
there's a chance.
If they even continue Andromeda, because
You think they could
it
drop
kind of
it?
bombed.
Yeah, Andromeda didn't do
I didn't
well.
think it was a bad game, but it did kind of bomb with fans. So
It's because there was no Legion.
It's 'cause there was no-
exactly. Well, I guess it's hard also to start to start a trilogy. Always the first one's going to be a harder. But you've got
There
all
were so
everyone
many
everyone was
expectations.
expecting everything from
Yeah.
the
Right.
yeah.
Very cool. For being in voice acting, in acting in general, or voice acting for quite some time as you've been, do you find it there's a huge difference in the actual
Is there?
from your approach to voice acting since you had first started till now, like how you go in? Was there a huge difference, or are you still going?
Well, every time you go into something that's new for you, you're going to have nerves until you get used to it, and then you get a rhythm, and then sometimes you can get a little sloppy. So in voiceover, going into a studio just to do a commercial work, that was initially nerve-wracking back in the day when I did it, but. Excuse me. And then I had an agent that finally got a voiceover agency, because throughout the 90s and all, it was like I would get a little gig here and there. I didn't have it, but I finally got an agent in the early aughts, and I found out we got to go to their office like almost every day to do auditions, and so you go into the same studio every single day. The nerves go away really quickly, and all of a sudden, because there's so much commercial copy and whatnot, you just start to feel like it's like lotto tickets. I scratched off my things and I threw it away, and then I go home, and then I do it again and I do it again. And now that we have home studios and we just all do it from home, it's even easier to feel that way. So there's no nerves or pressure. But then let's say all of a sudden you go in to do anime, and I hadn't done anime in I did anime in the early aughts or late 90s, and so when I went back in to go do it, I'm like, I kind of remember the 3 beeps, and I know I've got to kind of like match the lips, but I forgot I thought, how did I survive? At first I thought that I had to watch the lips, and I'd see these long lines, and I'd be like, I'm going to have to read. Maybe they won't notice me reading. So I'm like reading the line, hoping that I'm timing it out. And, and they'd like, you're a little too this, a little to that. But literally within about 20 minutes, I got back into the groove. It's just something, you realize, I listened to the original Japanese. I now know what the time is for it, and you get like like an organic sense of what it is, and then they immediately go into your 3 beeps, and then I start reading with that sense of how long I have to speak, and it actually kind of works out well. That's that internal, like a musician might have or something, and so that's the thing that you. I hope I never lose, because that's what helps it. So then the nerves used to be that here come the beeps and the heart's start talking blah 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 blah, and but then finally you get comfortable with that. Then I get a gig. And I only took it because I wanted to get in with this particular studio because they have some big animes coming, I did this live action ADR, and I usually don't. Well, again, ADR looping for anime or live action pays poopy, and I didn't want to go. And this one was like doing 12 episodes of a series that's landing on Netflix, and it's the lead in that, so it would be many sessions. And yes, that sounds great because eventually the checks are like, that's a nice little check. But you've like got almost like a 9-to-5 job, but it's really like a 2 to 6 job or a 9 to 1 job. But it's like it makes it more difficult. You become really busy because then you have to go home and try to jam in all the other stuff that you usually would do for voiceover. So all of a sudden it came up for the beeps, and I got nervous again because now it's live action. The acting has to be very real. I have to sound sort of like that guy, and also in his language, and it was Italian. It was Italian. Is kind of hear what his intonations are when he's doing it. So there's so much more with his face and all of that. And then you have plosives. You actually are not just trying to like fit it in all the time that the flaps are going on a regular cartoon. Now you have to kind of stretch a word here so that when you say the P part of it, that it lands with his lips going the P part of it. It's because they really try to fake it out. On good looping, that's what they try to do. And so it becomes very tedious, way more tedious than anime. And it becomes like a little mind-numbing, like when you've been on the computer for 12 hours and you're like going, why am I so exhausted? It's a little bit like that. You're like, I'm really exhausted after just doing this simple kind of stuff. But what's really funny is after doing that for 4 hours, and then I'd go to do an anime session. And I'd walk in there, and then it'd go beep, 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 and I'd start talking, and I'm like, oh, this is easy. I just have to match the time frame, then that's it. It's so easy. Yeah.
Little strange when you're doing this in the booth, and people are like, no, come on, get it.
Yeah.
Whose turn is it? Is it my turn? Is it your turn?
I'll go.
Okay.
How did you fall into the career of voice acting or voicing over, whether on purpose or accident?
It was semi on purpose, more so on accident. I think we're in our 1 minute or time's up. Our wrap up? No, you wrap up. No, we'll wrap up. So really quickly, I came to Los Angeles when I was 19 to be a film and TV actor, and I knew I would do theater in the interim. I went to I interviewed at 7 different acting schools. Out of one of them, it turned out, because we go through the yellow pages to find what to audition for, we had no internet. And one of them turned out to be this voiceover coach, and I didn't know it. And I tried to do my audition monologue, and she's like, thanks, but I'm not that kind of teacher. She explained to me what voiceover was. She says, you have a beautiful voice, and you should consider it. And I'm like, meh. I finally decided on the school I was going to go to, and I thought, well, I'll go take her class for a couple months. And it taught me word color and technique. It's when I found out I could do a British accent. So it was like the beginnings of that. And then occasionally people go, you have a great voice. Will you come and do this commercial or this promo for this film? And I'd go, yeah, how much you charge? Like $75? Yes. It started off like that. And then throughout the 90s. And then near, I guess it was the latter 90s, I realized people make a lot of money in voiceover. And everyone used to say, it's such a tight group, you can't get in. But it's kind of true. There's the promo people that people tend to hire those they know that can do the job and they like working with. So that's the only way it's a tight group, not because it's like, we're not letting anyone else in. So I decided to try to get an agent. I did one round of it in the 90s, and I had done a lot of voiceover gigs on my own. And he's like, nah, but you want to take some classes? I'm like, you mother. And I knew it was just a way of getting rid of me. But what was great is 3 years later, I did it again, and I got this agent who goes, you got an amazing range, and let's start doing it. And within the first year, I booked a CBS promo, a gig where all summer long I was for CBS daytime. It's so stupid. I got the gig because they let us. they cued us in the studio, so we're watching the previous guy audition, and the line was CBS hot enough for you. So that's what the thing was. So you'd think everyone's going hot enough for you, and she's like, no, it's she's trying to direct them, and they weren't getting it, but I watched and I saw how they were doing it wrong, and I know what to do. So I get in and I go, CBS daytime hot enough for you. And they're like going, great, you're booked. I'm like, what? No, that's what it was. Actually, it was CBS daytime hot enough for you, which makes no sense.
Yeah, that's.
But it's because they didn't want it to say like it's not a question. We know we're hot enough for you, but we don't want to be arrogant. It's like, what a stupid campaign. And that lady got fired at the end of the summer. So anyway, so that's how I kind of got in, and from then on, I it just got better and better, and then I started booking stuff. And my on-camera career now is kind of suffering. And I quit my daytime job a couple years in after getting that agent because I had enough money to do my home studio, and I just risked. I thought, I think I can get enough work that I can meet my bills. And the minute I stopped having to go to my daytime editing job, all of a sudden, more clients came. I got better, and boom.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, great.
Last question, is there anything you want to plug with your last couple seconds, or how do we find you on social media, or what are you...
I'm DC Douglas. You can find me on Twitter, DC_Douglas. You can find me on Instagram as Mr. DC Douglas, which is MR DC Douglas. And you can find me on Facebook. I only auto-post there because I hate them. They try to force us to pay to promote our posts on fan pages. And then things coming at DCDouglas.com. The things coming up, watch me on JoJo's Bizarre Adventures as Kira, and that's going to go on for a little bit. Having a lovely time with that. And right now I'm Kirshner on Sirius the Jaeger, and you can see me in a couple episodes of Baki the Grappler. And of course, watch Backstreet Girls Goku Dolls. It's really funny, and it's actually more woke than you think it is. People think it's not. They think that it's actually anti-trans, and it's not. It's actually pro-trans, and but it takes some thinking and watching it to get it. I think that's, and I got there's games I just can't see. Oh, Ace Combat 7, I'm in that. Oh, nice. Dr. Schroeder, and I think those are all the things that are coming out right now, that are out right now. The rest of it I can't say.
Ooh, cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys very much. That was fun.